First, though, we return to education and the uncertainty which continues to dog the secondary transfer process. This week, the body which controls Catholic schools has been meeting to finalise its position. That's expected to back a short-term transition period of academic selection with a centrally set transfer test. But despite the mounting pressure to avert what many predict will be chaos, the Sinn Féin minister is sticking to her guns. Cáitríona Ruane is with me now. Minister, the Assembly debate this week brought together opponents and fans of academic selection in an attempt, as they sought to avert the chaos which is going to happen next year. They're asking you to reintroduce the centrally set transfer test for a short and limited period. You say you won't. Why not?
Well, first of all, there won't be chaos. Finland, 30-odd years ago, got rid of academic selection. They are now top, and people predicted at that time, the opponents of change at that time, predicted that there would be chaos. Finland are now top of the international standards table. There won't be chaos. I was elected.
Let me stop you. There will be chaos because there's going to be an unregulated transfer test. Some children might have to sit 2 or more tests. Parents don't know whether they have to do this, how it's all going to work out. That is chaos by any definition.
First of all, the official policy is Transfer 2010, Ashtrue, Govila Sajeh. That's the official departmental policy. Children do not have to sit any test. Children should not be sitting a test at the age of 10 and 11 that determines outcomes to an education that they're entitled to.
But they're going to.
Well, the majority...
Some 40% of children will sit a test next year.
You're making a presumption. The majority of children won't. Now, what I'm saying to educationalists, what I'm saying to parents, and especially to our young children, we are going to create an education system for the first time ever that's fair. Would you write your notes here on a 1940s typewriter? I don't think so, Noel. Would you use 1940s camera or to film us here? What we have here is an outdated, unequal, hierarchical education system that does not meet the needs of our children.
What you're replacing it with, well, because it's not replaced with anything formal yet, nothing that's legislatively necessary or requires schools to act in any certain way, what is happening is that there is lack of regulation which is producing a terrible amount of confusion.
Well, what I'm replacing it with is Transfer 2010. What I'm replacing it with is what the vast...
Which are guidelines, that's the problem, isn't it?
No, which is what the vast majority of countries throughout the world are using. The rest of this island are using the system that I'm bringing in. England, Scotland, Wales, Canada, New Zealand, Finland. The list is endless. Why do we want an unfair system here? What we're doing is changing the system. I was elected, I'm democratically elected, to bring about a programme of change. And that's what I'm doing. Because we cannot tolerate a system where the vast majority of our children are failed by the system.
But until agreement is reached on a system which will last forever, there is this terrible vacuum which is being filled by a lack of regulation, different schools setting different exams. Do you not accept that that's more confusing, perhaps more damaging for the children and their parents than the system it's supposed to replace?
I brought forward compromise proposals. The DUP blocked them. The DUP refused to even discuss them at the executive. Now, nobody's surprised at that. The DUP and UUP for decades have been blocking change in this state. I'm elected to bring about change. And that's what I'm going to do.
So you withdrew those suggestions. Why can you not simply reinstate them?
Well, for there to be a state-sponsored test, there would need to be legislation. And that legislation would need to be supported by the DUP. And they've refused to do that. So we're moving forward. I am not going to allow the DUP or anyone to block the change that's needed for the children. We are going to create a fair system which keeps families together, which keeps communities together, and which doesn't discriminate in the way that currently does.
But you can't do that until you have agreement in the executive and in the assembly. That's the way it works. But you haven't. You haven't, because there are dozens of schools are going to be setting transfer tests. You haven't solved anything.
Well, what I have, there's no 11 plus. The 11 plus is gone, thankfully, and after decades and decades.
Well, pretty much everyone agreed on that anyway.
Well, everyone didn't. At the start, when I came in here first, people were arguing for me to keep the 11 plus.